We all know what skipping is, but most of us deny that we do it very often. I'm Kurt Weibers, founder of Skippy Socks, and don't mistake this for yet another fitness gimmick. Skipping is not exercise, it's embodiment. Children naturally do it without ever being taught how, and although we all intuitively know what skipping is, scientifically it's actually very difficult to quantify. That's because skipping sometimes occurs when you don't want it to. You might be watching a DVD that starts to skip, and you don't like it. Skipping occurs during machine malfunction, and yet it is one of the most profound expressions of human exuberance.
Walking and running are metronomic, like the tick of a clock, whereas skipping is rhythmic. Skipping adds complexity into metronomic intervals. Physically, we do this by introducing stutter steps into a walk cycle. Musically, there is a syncopating of beats, but this is difficult to exactify. You just have to feel it.
There is a uniqueness and individuality in the way that only you embody the skip. And here at Skippy Socks, we can help you find it.
We can skip if we want to. We can leave your friends behind. And if friends don't skip, and if they don't skip, well, they're no friend of mine.
Are you still with me? When we skip a beat, as the saying goes, we miss something we're not sure if we completely understand. But on the other hand, perhaps you are with me, for you know there is something new and energizing with the skip.
We can skip, skipping gets out of control.
In today's oversaturated world, we often skip between the pages. We skip through channels, we skip assignments, we skip out of a meeting. In this sense, skipping becomes the functional process of an overscheduled people.
We can skip, Skippy Socks round the clock. Skippy Socks.
In a society that never has time for the whole story, wouldn't it make sense to take a closer look at the art of skipping?
Today, the medium is the mix, and the mix is the message.
Hello? Yes, is Marcia McLuhan there? This is Kurt Weibers calling. I'm outside of your building. On Marshall McLuhan, yes, I'd like to speak with him.
The Marshall McLuhan office is right over there.
Right here behind me, it is actually McLuhan's real office.
Today, the process of our time is the mix, and it occurs on many levels. Today we create by mixing images or sounds together. We write by mixing voices from the past and future. Thinking itself has become a process of editing, arranging, cutting, speeding up and slowing down, like in a film. Today, we do not think, we mix other people's thoughts. The medium is the mix, and the mix is the message.
Thanks.
Do you know who you're looking for?
There's a Marshall McLuhan lecture there at 1:30.
The environment is not visible, it's information. It's electronic.
You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack.
Prove their bottom line. But now we must ask, what makes a theory inherently true or false? To find out, I presented my findings from the Mazine Time Motion Study to a group of executive MBA students, and what I discovered was that truth, in theory, is impossible.
Now, keep in mind that a screen test was used in order to eliminate factors with eigen values lower than 0 in this particular case. So when we bring in the next set, and again this has been orthogonally rotated from the factor set, the data set from B, what we observe is from this orthogonal rotation a series of hits. The hits are actually the pink areas in this specific chart. And these hits are revealing some interesting information, especially when we bring in our last data set, which is C. And C was essentially loaded into this data set using something referred to as a Sheff test. And the Sheff test has exposed an interesting set of hits here. You can see how they're forming a little pattern, which is actually an embedded rail V in this specific set of statistical quantitative data.
So how do you feel? Do you feel any confidence in this type of methodological approach?
When we think of creativity, we usually don't think of seagulls. But if we are to methodize a new way of increasing our creativity, seagulls are actually quite a good place to begin. In fact, new research in science suggests that creativity is much more than a human process, and goes so far to suggest that creativity exists in biological and physical systems. Thus, understanding creativity in the broader sense is the first step to increasing one's own application of creativity. Too often, creativity discussions result in a binary opposition between the creative and the uncreative. It is far better for us to visualize creativity as a continuum, where more creativity is discussed as a matter of degree.
If we want to be more creative, and accept that everything is creative to some degree, we must search for some criteria to analyze creativity on the continuum. We shall say that the criteria is influence, as all creative processes exert a force of influence of some kind on their broader social systems.
Now, if we immediately apply this idea to the artist, it may at first be confusing, because most artists